Hello and welcome to freephotoshop.com and this third video on basic masks. We've seen what masks are and we've seen why we need them. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make and employ one to carry out what we did in the previous video, but with more control and future possibilities. I have open on screen the photo negative image that's provided to us by www.broken-arts.com and downloaded in this instance at the Free Photo Exchange website, which you can visit at www.sxc.hu. I also have 3 other layers comprising of high profile shops in 5th Avenue in New York City, and we are going to create a photo reel by masking these photos into the photo strip. So let's start by switching the middle layer on and activating it by clicking on it. Now to add a layer mask to the layer, I'm going to come down to the bottom of the layers panel and I'll click this little button that looks like a little square with a circle in it. I guess that's supposed to represent a layer with a circular mask on it. Anyhow, give it a little click, and if you haven't already, then that mask will pop up onto the layer itself. Now at the moment, nothing on the image or on the layer has changed. And that's because we by default get a white mask, meaning that nothing is masked out and therefore none of the current layer is masked away. I'll show you how to get a black mask, so I'll drag this one down to the little trash can icon to delete it, and I'm asked if I want to apply the mask before deleting it. I don't want to do that, so I'll just hit the delete button like so. Now with that same layer active, I'll hold down the Alt key here on the PC or the Option key on the Mac and click the mask button, and we get ourselves a black mask this time. Again, meaning that the entire layer this time is masked out, which is why we can no longer see any of the layer at all. We can now see completely through it to the photo strip image, though it's still visible in the layers panel. Alright, now we want to go ahead and grab the magic wand tool. I'm going to do that by hitting the W key on the keyboard. If you've been using that tool for your own projects, then come up here to the little tool icon in the options bar and right click and choose Reset Tool, just like we did last time. Make sure that the photo strip layer is active in the layers panel, and then come into the middle and click once to select the region of white. Now we need to make sure the mask is active by coming over here to the layers panel and clicking on it. You can see a slightly thicker border around it to tell us that it's selected. If I click the layer thumbnail, you'll see the border switch because I'm now working on the layer. So I'll click the mask once more to ensure it's active. Now I need to paste white into the mask to ensure that this part of the layer is visible. And notice that over here at the bottom of the toolbox, our swatches are black and white. Even if I click on one of them to open up the color picker, we still don't get any options to pick any colors, and that's because when the mask is active, which it is at the moment, we only have access to grayscale values because a mask is only able to contain grayscale information that of course represents the transparency of the mask. I'll cancel out of there and hit the D key on the keyboard to ensure we have our default values available in the swatches, that being white as the foreground colour and black as the background, as you can see. Now to fill the selection with white, I'll use the keyboard shortcut Alt Delete here on the PC or Option Delete on the Mac, and now we have the selected area of this layer shining through and clearly visible. That's great. I'll deselect the area by using the keyboard shortcut Control D or Command D on the Mac. Alright, so we've successfully masked away the region of that layer we don't require. Now let's mask away the other layers to fit into the other areas of the photo strip. Alright, go ahead and select the photo strip layer at the bottom of the layers panel, and once again using the magic wand, select the right side of the strip like so. Now we can turn on the visibility of the right layer and select it. Now because we already have a selection, if we come down to the mask button and click it, we add a layer mask with the region that was selected in white and everything else in black, meaning that whatever we had selected remains visible, and then whatever we didn't have selected is hidden. And that's just the way we want it. Although we do have one small issue as far as masking goes. I want to move the image so that we can see the name of the store. To achieve that, I'll grab the Move tool by hitting the V key on the keyboard. By the way, I've got a tutorial on the Move tool at freephotoshop.com if you're interested in learning more. For now, I'm going to ensure we have the right layer active, and then I'll come back to the image and move it over slightly. The trouble is, as you can see on screen, we're moving the layer and the mask, and we want to move the layer independent of the mask. I'll hit Control or Command Z to undo that change because we don't want to do that, and we can achieve what we want to and what we just discussed by clicking on this really tiny little chain icon between the layer and the mask, thus breaking the link. So if we see the chain icon there, it means we have the link, so they're both attached to each other. If we take that chain away by clicking on it, then that link is no longer active. We now need to make sure the layer is active and not the mask, so I'll go ahead and click on it to make sure. Now if I move the layer around with the Move tool, I'm going to do it independently of the mask, and I can now shine through whatever portion of the image I want to using the mask in the exact same location it was when we put it there in the first place. So I'll align that to the store sign like so, and job done. It's almost like having a window in the image so that we can see whatever we're dragging around behind clearly visible inside the main composition. And by the way, in order to work on a mask, you can use any number of tools, including all of the selection tools, the paintbrush, and even the gradient tool. I'm going to use the Magic Wand again because in order to build this type of mask, it's the easier tool to use, especially as we're just demonstrating what's going on. Alright, let's go ahead and put the final piece of the jigsaw together. We'll come back down and activate the photo strip layer. Then I'll use the keyboard shortcut of W to activate the Magic Wand tool and click on the left side this time of the image. Now I'll turn the visibility of the left layer on, and I'll go ahead and click it to activate it. Now I'll come down to the bottom of the layers panel and I'll click the layer mask button to once again add a mask to the layer and have the selected portion visible in the larger composition, just like we did in the last example. I'll unlink the layer and the mask by clicking that little chain icon, and I'll click on the layer to ensure it's active and the mask isn't. Then I'll hit the V key on the keyboard to access the Move tool on the fly, move the layer into the right position. Probably just so we can see the initial letter of the word Gucci, and there we go. I like that. A couple of things we need to keep in mind before we call it a day. If you want to reselect the visible areas of the mask, you can do so by Control or Command clicking on the mask itself. So if I click the middle mask, we reselect the visible portion of it, and that's going to work out just great if you want to re-edit that mask at any stage. Alright, I'll deselect that by hitting Control or Command D. Also, don't forget that when you're editing a mask, you must have it active. If you're getting strange behaviours, then try clicking the layer and then clicking back on the mask, and that goes for layers too, and vice versa. If you don't have whatever you're working on active, then you will get some pretty strange results. There we have it, the most flexible and practical way of hiding portions of a layer from view. Just to test that theory, I'll come over here to the middle layer and I'll shift click the mask to switch it off, and there we have the entire image still available to us in case we have to make changes sometime down the line somewhere in the future. I'll shift click again to turn the mask back on. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you back at the freephotoshop.com website.